Well, as the Astros near the end of the first half and a Lone Star series with the Texas Rangers, the injuries have mounted. A local prospect gets called up. And what grades do we give this first half Houston Astros team? Let's go back to the bullpen right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right. And as the Astros have been doing, they've been going to the bullpen, but that's good because the bullpen's been really solid this year. The pitchers have been solid. We're going to talk about some other things, some deficiencies, the highs, the lows. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. You know where to find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Instagram, on just wherever. I mean, just look me up. You'll find me. Now, this guy, Mike, the dynamic part of this duo, you can only find them in one place. And Mike, tell them where they can find you, sir.
Dynamic. I don't think I've been called dynamic in quite a while, but there's only one place, and that's going to be on X at Mike Stanton 29, the old 2-9er.
That's right, Mike. You know, we are coming to a close of the first half of the season already. And we've already had ups and downs, but this team right now is being held together by duct tape and vibes, according to Chandler Rome. Chandler Rome so eloquently put it in his most recent article. And I mean, this team has had injury after injury. We're going to get to Jake Meyers and other injuries. But we've got a local call up, a local kid in Bryce Matthews that is being called up, and what an exciting time for him. Bryce Matthews coming up to the big leagues for the first time. Mike, what is that like for a kid like Bryce Matthews, hometown kid, getting to play in his hometown park?
It's pretty incredible. I mean, you're talking about a kid that came out of Tascasita, Northeast Houston, really good athlete, big football player, can run, not the biggest in stature, 5'10", 5'11", 190 plus pounds, but has a real explosive bat. And then just the idea of being called up and playing for your hometown team. Now, I never really got to do that. I never got to play for the Houston Astros. I had an opportunity in free agency one year, but it just simply didn't work out. Other than that, I had only played as a visitor. So I can't really say how big of a deal or what he's going to feel, because I can tell you just getting called up, even if it's not in your hometown, it's a moment that you will never forget for the rest of your life. So I can only imagine the anxiety, the pressure, being elated, every emotion you can positive emotion you can positively think of going through his mind. So it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, it truly is. This is this is not just a hitter. It's not just a hitter with power. This dude's an athlete. All you have to do, just look at him jog. Just look how he runs, how he carries himself. I mean, this dude is a flat athlete, and that's why he was a number one pick coming out of Nebraska.
Yeah, he is, and, he's a solid kid. You had mentioned him coming from Atascocita, and I actually spoke with his mother and his father at the TriStar show this year, and talked to Bryce, and Bryce shared with me that he said he goes I really didn't like he goes I liked football, but I loved baseball.
Yeah.
And he goes, I loved baseball practice. I hated football practice.
Oh, yes, I can agree with that. Because I was a football player really in high school, coming out of Midland High School, West Texas, Friday Night Lights, the whole bit. If you don't play football, you really didn't do anything. And, back then you didn't have any kind of spring football. And, I loved baseball, but man, playing in front of the lights on Friday night, that was really my calling.
Well,
and I loved it so much. I wanted to do it in college, but unfortunately my senior year, I hurt a knee, and that was kind of all she wrote.
I've seen players that were great at both sports, and they hit that injury bug, and they're like, I think I'm sick with baseball. Yeah. But, Bryce, though, could go out there, and I mentioned this on an earlier show. He could literally, he told me, he said, I could put on the pads, I could put on the helmet. I would have studied that defense so much, I could carve them up, and I wouldn't need a single minute of practice. He goes,
I mean, you're not talking about a receiver. You're talking about someone. And in order to play high end quarterback, one thing you also have to have the intelligence, and to read defenses and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, Bryce, we're talking about an intelligent, very athletic young man. And, this is hopefully it's not the highlight of his career, but it's the highlight of his career thus far.
So let me ask you this, Mike, because we just had Shea Whitcomb get sent back down to AAA. He gets up. He gets a little bit of a chance and gets pushed back down. We knew the move was because of the 3-day stint on the paternity list by Christian Walker. So you hope he comes back with that dad strength the last 3 games before the All-Star break. But surely they're not bringing up their top prospect to put him on the bench. I mean, they're bringing him up to play him.
Well, I don't know if he's going to play every single day because, you look at Cam in right field. He didn't play every single day either. I thought the Astros did a really nice job of kind of easing him into the big league lineup. Even though he was opening day, it wasn't a situation they just threw him out there and you sink or you sink or float and just do it. They kind of tried to ease that transition into the big leagues, and I expect them to do the same thing with Bryce. But here's the thing: if he gets off to a hot start, I completely expect him to play. That doesn't mean that he's got to hit every single game to play, but it's just one of those situations. And one of the things that we don't know is behind the scenes conversation. How is he reacting to any kind of adversity? It is a big jump to go from AAA to the big leagues. The pitchers may not really throw any harder, but there's better command. The off-speed stuff is better. It's sharper. They know where the ball is going. They have a better idea of how they're trying to attack you. So it's a little bit different. And, back in the day when a young guy came up, you really didn't have a book on him. Well, in this day and age, you got a book on everyone. They know exactly what Bryce can hit. They being the opponents, they know exactly what Bryce can hit and what he can't. And it's going to be a matter of adjustments.
And everybody wasn't Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn had I remember watching an interview, and he had a VHS tape of every pitcher that he either had faced or was potentially going to face that he knew was on a roster at the big league level. Can you imagine
I'm having a little bit of an electrical issue here. I got to make sure. No, I don't need to go. I just don't. If I'm not on camera, I got to make my computer stay plugged in.
I hate when I get there and the computer's like now we're blinking red, right? You're like, no. Hey, that's okay. One night,
problem being live, right?
Exactly. We were doing Locked On Live, and lightning struck by me.
Oh,
and everyone's like, "What's wrong with Brett?" He froze, and I lost everything, and I had to reboot everything. So yeah, it happens. But I want to ask you this, because when I do look at Bryce Matthews' numbers, there is something that concerns me as a baseball commentator. And his away numbers, Mike, are phenomenal. And it's no secret that the PCL is rife full with high altitude, very hitter-friendly ballparks, right?
Yep.
but it's at home that really concerns me, because you have a 212 average, 350 on base, 248 slug, 598 OPS, no home runs, only 4 extra base hits, and those are doubles. 53 strikeouts and in about 38 fewer at bats. But then when you go on the road, 333, 436 OBP, slugging 641, OPS 1.077, 10 home runs, 5 triples, 8 doubles. He's going to the big leagues, different parks, different setting. Daikin Park controlled. Is there a concern? Is this something where the Astros are going to try to match him up to set him up for success? What would you say about this?
Well, I think they definitely match him up. I don't, like I said, I don't think they just throw him in there and, okay, you're going to be our second baseman for the next, 3 straight weeks on a daily basis. I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't, to tell you the truth, this is going to be great analysis right here. I don't really know what that means. I don't. And it's because it's not like every ballpark in AAA in the PCL is just a crazy hitter's ballpark, except for Constellation Field. There are some other ballparks that now the Constellation Field is a big park. Okay. It is outside. We know it's summer in Houston. It's hot as Hades here. Now, some of the other ballparks, it's hot too. So I don't really know what that means. I would need to look deeper into some of the other data points, hard hit rate, ground ball rate, fly ball rate, stuff like that, to see if there is something different. But, just on the surface, should those numbers be concerning? Well, they at least make you raise your eyebrows. I don't know what it's going to mean, because, he comes to Houston. Guess what? He's on the road. It may be his home. It may be the Astros' home ballpark, but it's not necessarily his home ballpark yet. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm sitting here looking.
I will also say this: we also know Daikin Field Daikin Park is a much more hitter-friendly ballpark than Constellation Field. You got the short left field porch. The ball flies a little bit more. Like you said, it's climate control. So, we're not really comparing apples to apples, except that he's going to be facing big league pitching, whether he's on the road or at home, as long as he's in an Astros uniform.
And he has been playing primarily second base this year, which actually defensively, when I look at his metrics, is his best position this year. He has 500 innings there. He has 94 putouts. He only has 3 errors. He's turned 33 double plays, a 986 fielding percentage. Shortstop, he's only at 90%, which is actually kind of low, because most guys are higher than that. And because I know someone mentioned that on the radio, they were talking about how his defense isn't there yet, isn't major league ready. But you're kind of in a position where, all right, kid, whether you're ready or not, here you come. And Bryce Matthews, is going to have his whole family there. Everybody from everybody from
there's going to be a lot of emotion.
It's going to
be a lot of emotion. And listen, and this, the one thing that Dana Brown, we'll just go in general terms, a big league general manager, the last thing you want to do is bring up your top prospect and have to turn around and send him right back down. Now, but that doesn't, there's a lot, that's a statement I use kind of in general, that once you call your top prospect up, if you've done your job as an organization, your player development, then he doesn't have to go back down, except for you may need to make roster moves, So I think this may be a situation. You bring him up, you see what he looks like in an Astros uniform. You see what he looks like at second base. You see if the defense is really as high or low as some of the scouts or whomever says it is. See what he looks like when, they throw that hard slider down the way, or the split down below the zone. Is he able to lay off of it? Can he lift the ball? Whatever it is, just see what he looks like, and let the coaching staff and the big league staff upstairs get a feel for who the player is. It's just one of those things that I don't think they're bringing him up unless he just lights it up, and there's a possibility that he does that.
Now,
that if he does that, listen, you hit, you play well, you're on the field, you're playing.
Now, could this be a move that if Jake Meyers goes on the IL for an extended period of time, that this is the reason why they're making this move? Because I think, Jackson Holiday came up and everyone's like, and then he went down and then he back up and he's really kind of starting to hit his, his stride. Jack Caglione got called up and the Royals were, they were, maligned by that. He is hitting only 151, but he has 4 home runs already. So, I mean, look, these prospects have a lot of pressure on them regardless, not only from outside, but from themselves, because when you make it, and it's not always about proving people wrong, because I always think that's the wrong mindset. You want to prove people right. You want to get there and you want to show that the hard work that you put in, like, see, this mattered. And that extra hour at the ball field meant something. And that extra pitch or that extra at bat or that extra swing I took got me to this point. That hard work, me choosing a sport that doesn't come as naturally as football, was the right choice. But we all know that you can't judge anybody by what they do when they first come up. It does help, I think, though, Mike. And talk about this, something I was thinking about today. You've got Cam Smith, who came up, who leapfrogged everybody in the organization, started on opening day, and really has positioned himself as one of the top 2 rookies in All-American League. It's probably an advantage for Bryce Matthews to have Cam Smith have had the success. He can glean off of him and maybe get some advice from him because he's right there with him as a rookie.
Well, possibly, but you don't become a top draft pick. You don't become a top pick or top prospect in an organization, and those guys usually don't have confidence issues.
Well, right.
And listen, there may be some information that Cam can give him, but Bryce is going to have to find his own way. He's his own young man, and it's his career. But yeah, if there's information there, plus you have a plethora of guys on the team, veterans that can give him help and give him information and kind of calm down the nerves also. But it's going to be fun to watch. It really is, because like you said, Atascocita is going to be well represented at Dyken Park. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of the injuries, if Jake Meyers goes down for a significant amount of time, or if Jake Meyers is out for the year, because when he was asked by the press after the game, hey, is this worse than the first time? He's like, do I have to answer that question? He literally
he pleaded
not answer that question. Yeah, and you also brings into the conversation, this medical staff has been under all kinds of scrutiny all season long. The return to work or return to play protocol was something that James Click wanted to review. 3 months later, he was let go. I mean, so you just wonder, like, it's just a weird thing that seems to be going on with the health of the Astros. Is this all just luck in the wrong way? Is this all a coincidence, or are all these things connected? And I mean, of course, it's not scientific in that you can do a formula and figure it out, but it's just weird that they were like, all right, he said he's good. They said, let's go. And then boom, immediately he's hurt. And you just hate to see it, because Jake Meyers has been a big part of the success for this team this year.
He has. He's had really kind of a breakout season. He's always been tremendous defensively, but offensively it's been, I think the nicest way I can put it is be hit or miss, but he's been consistent this year offensively. And so it is unfortunate. What do I think about as far as them? I don't think this is the medical staff. I don't think this is something that the Astros are doing or aren't doing that's causing injuries. Injuries happen. And, a lot of the injuries, you have to look at the player himself. I mean, if Jake actually came up and said, yeah, you know what? I still feel a little bit, but my calf is good to go. Put me in the game, coach. And he goes out there and hurts himself again. That's not on the organization. And what the way this team has always been, I've always thought in previous years, they've been ultra conservative in situations like this. But that doesn't, even being conservative doesn't mean that that's going to stop an injury from happening again. I can tell you this. I've never had a calf injury. I've had teammates that have. They heal very slowly. They are hard to heal. And the biggest thing is if you spend any amount of time on the IL with a calf injury, you can't do anything. You have to just sit. You can't, you can't ride a bike because you use your calves in everything you do.
Yeah.
So you can't really do anything to kind of try and, keep your eye, keep your timing. You have to just sit and wait for it to heal. I know there's been a lot of scrutiny for the medical department, but and some of it maybe rightly so. Okay, I'm not going to just make excuses for them, but a lot of it is on the players themselves too.
Yeah, that's true. And that's where a player, they will ask a player, hey, how do you feel? Man, I'm great. I'm good.
Well, I used to say it all the time. Hey, I can't scratch my head, but I can pitch today.
I can't. That's so funny. But hey, real quick, we just want to remind y'all, make sure that you scan the QR code, get your Back to the Bullpen shirt. And I mean, other things. I mean, Mark's doing the H-Town hats now. He's doing all kinds of stuff with the H-Town script. I've got the Houston is Inevitable shirt. Go ahead and grab that. Make sure that you check out. So Ever right now is actually moving locations. It's in the same shopping center, but he's going to be inside Sanctuary Gym in Friendswood. So if you're in the Friendswood area, the Sanctuary Gym, my guy, John Jaquay, he has now not just a gym, not just a cold plunge, not just he's got a golf simulator. Now they got a barbershop in the gym. So that's where Ever's moving. I saw him doing construction on it today. So excited for that big move for him. But the All-Star game, I don't know if you heard, it is an exhibition game. And this year they're using the ABS system in the All-Star game. They just announced. Okay. What do you think about that?
Why not? I mean, it's an exhibition game. We saw it used in spring training.
Right.
It's been used for a couple years now in AAA. Listen, it is Houston is inevitable. RoboCop is a Robo-Ump is inevitable also. It is coming. So why not use it and see in a game that doesn't mean anything. So I think that why not see what happens? See what the pitchers think. See what the hitters think. Just see how everybody reacts to it in a as unneeded an event as you can have. I mean, the All-Star game is, like you said, is just an exhibition. So why not see what happens?
Definitely. And then, you got the home run contest. You got Cal Riley, who's hitting out of his mind, and guys like that participating. So, hopefully it'll be a fun week. I know there's a futures game. We have a couple Astros going to the futures game as a result. So that's good that you have that. Now, I believe, was Bryce Matthews named to the futures game? But I think he was. So I guess, would he still play in that?
That I don't know.
Because
he may.
Well, but
I don't know if the rules are for the futures game that you can't have any big league experience, or I don't know if big leaguers go to the futures game or not. I don't know.
So MLB futures game, I believe, Mike, is actually, I think it's this weekend.
Yeah, it's right before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I think I think it's like on Friday.
So
no, I'm not Friday. I'm sorry. The first day of the All-Star break, which would be
Saturday.
No, I think, you know what? I think it's actually on Sunday.
Okay.
So the All-Star break starts on a Monday, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it might be the day before, or maybe it's not the first day. I think it's on Sunday.
No, actually, here it is. MLB Network, MLB.com, Saturday, 4 p.m. I just looked it up. And yeah, so Bryce Matthews was named, but Bryce Matthews, I don't think is going to be there because he's going to be wearing an Astros uniform Saturday.
That's true. Yeah. If it were on an off day, then maybe he could go. But yeah, I don't think he's going to hang up the Astros uniform to go play in the Futures game.
Hey guys, thanks for calling me up, but I've got a Futures game to attend.
Right.
They got a cool red carpet event before. Now, okay, let me ask you about that. It's gotten a little showy.
Oh, as it ever.
Do you love or hate the red carpet stuff?
I think it's just not needed.
I didn't mean to set you up for that one, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. You do it all the time, and I love you for it. No, I don't. All you have to do is look at the ratings. You know, what are the ratings? We'll see what the ratings are after the event. I don't. That's not part of who I am. Last thing I want to do is walk down a red carpet, and that's not
your
me.
cup of tea.
Not me.
Well, hey, speaking of ratings, the Astros and Dodgers game Saturday on Fox was the second most watched, 2.15 million viewers were watching that game. And of course, Astros Nation went nuts, and they're like, see, the nation's crying for an Astros Dodgers rematch in the World Series. That would be great.
Yeah.
But we got to move on to this Texas size mound matchups that we have, because the Rangers offense has started firing and actually scoring runs. They beat the Orioles on the 1st and 2nd of July, 10-2 and 6-0. I know that may not sound like much because the Orioles haven't been great this year, but they haven't been scoring a lot. They won 7-4 in San Diego. They scored 13 runs yesterday. Now they lost against the Angels yesterday. They scored 8 runs. Right now they've scored 9. So the reason why I say that is they're hitting the ball really well right now. They're seeing the ball well, and the Astros are going to counter them with some of their best pitchers. Lance McCullers going first versus Jack Leiter on Friday. And then your Saturday matchup is going to be one for the ages, I think. Framber Valdez versus a healthy Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom, Mike, is 9-2 with a 2.29 ERA. He has remained healthy. And then your last one, Hunter Brown and Nathan Eovaldi, the kid from Alvin. So you got some really good pitching matchups and a lot of entertaining baseball the weekend before All-Star break.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a fun series. You gotta like, especially the first matchup, the way Lance McCullers threw against the Dodgers, threw the ball exceptionally well. You get that bodes well for him going into this Rangers series. Listen, one of my favorite pitchers of this generation is Jacob deGrom. When that guy is right, he is as dirty and filthy as anyone in the sport. Hopefully he hangs one here or there and the Astros can run into it and Framber keeps throwing up zeros. But, it's, to tell you the truth, Jacob deGrom could have been one of the best pitchers to ever walk out onto a mound, period, if it weren't for all the health issues. Now that is a huge but that's just the simple truth to the matter. And
I think that's fair.
And then Sunday, the one thing we know about Nathan Eovaldi is he is a bulldog. He can go out there and shove and dominate, or the Astros have actually had some success up against him, but they're going up against a Hunter Brown that his last time out was not his sharpest, gave up six runs, but it's going to be fun. It's always fun when the Rangers and the Astros match up, and we'll just see how it works out in the end. And the roller coaster continues as well as the Astros have been playing. They go to Dodger Stadium in LA and they look like world beaters. They pitch, they hit, they do everything. Then they turn around and come home, where at home they have been absolutely dominant.
Yeah,
and then I don't know if you want to call it a hangover or whatever from the Dodgers series, but they just simply couldn't score any runs.
Well, Vegas made a lot of money because the Astros were minus 250 in game 1 and 2.
Oof.
And so there were a lot of people hanging their hats on, they just swept the Dodgers. They just,
Right.
But then the Dodgers went off and they lost 6 in a row.
That's right. They got swept again too.
But okay, I got a little trivia question for you. Do you know what university Jacob deGrom pitched at without looking? I'll just tell you this. It's called a pitching factory, but it's not a very big school.
I want to say Stetson, but I don't think that's it.
Bingo.
Look at that.
You got it. Wow.
I pulled that one out of nowhere.
Man, that was a good one. So, and I actually was talking to Stetson's coach, because the coach at Stetson currently was at Maine when Jeremy Pena came to the University of Maine.
Gotcha.
And he told us a story how when Jeremy Pena was dropped off by Geronimo Pena, he said, "My son's a good ball player. It's your job to make him great."
No pressure.
No pressure. But he said,
yeah, how about that? I mean, Pena comes out of University of Maine, not a baseball powerhouse.
No.
And then what was it? Springer came out of UConn, right?
Yeah.
University of Connecticut. Not a baseball powerhouse.
And then you got Biggio, Seton Hall. I mean, You got all kinds of, but yeah, Jacob deGrom, Stetson University, a huge baseball school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, Mike, I want to give you a baseball card or something for that, a little Cam Smith card. That was good, man. Dang, I thought I stumped you.
I'm usually not very good at trivia, but that one I got.
There you go, folks. That was not pre-planned, I promise you.
It was not.
So, Mike, let's
blindsided me again, folks.
There you go. Let's do this. let's grade the Astros. Let's start with just offensive performance.
Okay.
What would you? We're giving an A, B, C, or D.
A, B, C, or D. I would say, to tell you the truth, I think most through the first half, it's been maybe a low C at best.
Okay.
I think lately they've done a little bit better. So I'll call them just C.
C.
Just a flat C. 75. Just average.
Okay. I agree with you. I mean, I don't know if I'd give them a C plus or a C minus, but yeah, I think the C range is good overall. Because I mean, up until that 18-run outpouring, it's and you've been saying it, like, golly, they scored 3 runs, a lot more than they score 4 runs. And
that's right.
So
that's right.
That's tough. Now, pitching, and we'll do starting pitching and then relief pitching. Starting pitchers, with everything you got on the table, all the injuries, what do you give their starting pitchers and all the guys that have been able to start this year?
It's really been remarkable to see them now this for the second year in a row that they've had just unbelievable injuries inside their rotation, and they haven't really missed a beat. Last year they did it, losing 60% of their rotation in 2 days in the middle of their hot streak, and never really missed a beat. This year, it's been, I don't want to say it's been that good, but it's still been very good. I'm going to say overall, I'll even go a little bit deeper.
Okay.
The top of their rotation, 1 and 2, Hunter Brown and Fromber, those dudes have been just a flat out A. I mean, They have been outstanding. I think you put the other guys in, I think it probably goes down to an A minus, maybe a very high B plus.
Okay.
But it's really been one of the pitching staff has been the reason why they are in the situation in first place in the West. If it wasn't for them, these dudes would be floundering like the rest of the division.
Yeah, definitely. And, I would definitely say for their starters, I just think because it's almost like when you have a group, playing golf and you have a handicap, right? You have guys that always shoot well and guys that don't. I think you got the guys with the really low handicap, and then you got the other guys that maybe, they get the 110s or the 120s or every once in a while. But even those guys, Mike, have done exceptionally well for the job that's been called upon.
No doubt.
And so I definitely am going to say for the starters overall, because I think some of them have overachieved. I'm going to say A+. But I like that. Now the bullpen, and this is Brian Abreu, Brian King, Bennett Souza, Stephen Okert, Josh Hader, who gave up a grand slam in the 10th inning, did not lose his save streak,
right?
Because he didn't blow a save. He got a hold, and then he lost. Then he got an L. So I would give the bullpen, I think overall, outside of a couple games, I would have to give them an A or an A+.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they have done a remarkable job. And they've done it the same thing. They've done it with some guys that, the back end guys, the leverage guys. Okay, they've been outstanding. But there's been other guys that have come in that there have to be fans out there going, who's pitching for the Astros? And they've still done a good job also. Yeah. So I'm going to give them an A also. I'm not going to give them an A+, because an A+ would be 100, which means they haven't had any mistakes. So you got to. Right. I'm a little bit tougher grader than you are. I don't grade on a curve.
Well, I do teach Texas history. So
there you go.
It's not exactly, getting them to Harvard.
Right. So I'll give them an A, and I'll give the pitching staff overall, an A. I think that it's really been incredible to see exactly how good they've been, how consistent they've been. And now we're talking about a sample size of half the season.
Exactly. Now, what about Joe Espada? What do you give him?
I think Joe has done a nice job in several different categories. We've talked earlier about what he's done with Cam Smith, kind of easing him in,
right.
Manipulating the lineup, Altuve playing left field. Then he goes back to second base and moving, some of the other parts around. So I think that Joe has probably been, and listen, I mean, when is a manager doing his best job? He's doing his best work. Well, he's doing his best work when you don't talk about him, when it's not, there's no issues. And Joe, and that's been I think that's kind of how Joe has been, even though they've had all the injuries. And so I think what goes along with what we give the manager a grade, it kind of goes with the whole coaching staff and even the front office. So, Rio, I think a B+ is a good range, is a good call right there.
Now, I've got two more categories, defense and then one surprise category. But defense, okay. How do you think they've done?
Defense, I think that it's probably been an A- to an A. I mean, right. Their defense has, what is synonymous with pitching is defense. You can't have good pitching and not have good defense. So I think that their defense has been very good. I think they're going to miss Jake in center field, even though you put Mauricio out there. Mauricio I think is just as good as Jake, even though he's not going to carry the consistent stick that Jake has had this season. So, I think that I think you look at defense, I'd have to just give him an A.
Excellent. All right, medical staff.
That's a tough one, just because you don't know what happens behind the scenes.
I know. I had to. This look, Rio goes F. I said no Fs. Yeah, no. I was like, that just popped like it literally. I wasn't even thinking about it when we were talking. Someone said DFA the medical staff. Wow. Wow. Yeah, the shade is I mean, wow. I mean, but look, you almost have to laugh about it just because as a spectator, as a fan, even as someone in the clubhouse, Chandler Rome, actually, I was listening to him today on 790. He sat in for Adam Wexler with Adam Clanton. And he said when Jacob Melton got his first extra base hit is when he sprained his ankle. He said he was putting his whole weight on a chair to stand there and answer questions. And he said what was supposed to be a moment of celebration, he got his first big league extra base hit, and it wasn't. It was about his ankle, and it was about his injury. And he said for whatever reason, this club this year has just gone through it. And somehow, that's why he said duct tape and vibes is what's kept this club together. But going into the second half and to round out the show, the Astros, do they just have to stay the course and do what they've been doing? If they have a bad game, wash it, move on. Pitchers try not to do too much. How do they successfully navigate? They don't go, oh, you know what? We got the easiest strength of schedule in the second half. Right. We're going to run the table. But what do they got to do? What is their mindset? Hard reset over the All-Star break, get away from the game and just go back refreshed?
It's very simple. Okay. And all the people out there know I played on some very, very good teams. No, it wasn't all Yankees. I started with the Braves. There were some very good teams, but you go back to 1998, arguably one of the best teams to ever walk on the field. Okay. At the end of the season, we were 75. This is end of the season, into the World Series. We were 75 games over 500. Okay. We were 125-50. Our motto that season was, we play today, we win today. That's it. That's it. You don't go any deeper than that. You can't win tomorrow's game until you do something today. You can't do anything about yesterday's game. So you take care of business that's on your plate right in front of you, and that's today's game. And I think that's how you have to go about it. Now, that's the players. Now, managers, front office personnel, they have to do things a little bit differently. They have to look at the big picture. But as for just a player needs to play today. Yeah.
You can't, whenever I coach, whether it's volleyball or basketball or baseball, I always use the phrase like the next ball is the most important. The next pitch is the most important. The ball that's coming at you is the most important. This possession is most important. And I say that so much, my athletes will always go, why do you keep telling me that? And I'm like, because when you're playing, you keep thinking about a shot that you made 2 shots ago, and you're not focused on, like, you're missing the moment because you're worried about what you have or have not done.
What the approach that I use with the athletes and the players that I work with now is everything is a distraction. What you did, what you're going to do, it's hot outside, it's cold outside, bad umpire, bad defense, mom in the stands is yelling, the other team is chanting, and whatever it is, it's all distractions to take away from job at hand. And our ability to focus at what we're doing at this very moment is what's going to dictate whether you win or lose.
Exactly. I love it. This has been a good episode. It's been a good breakdown. I noticed you never answered the medical staff question, but I'll ignore that. But good luck, Bryce Matthews.
Enjoy. I'm sure he will. What I always used to tell young players that come up, especially in a situation like this, don't forget to breathe. As trivial as that sounds, what do you mean don't forget to breathe? You can hyperventilate in a heartbeat when you are, walking on the field, when just a few years ago, He was a guest. He was in the stands watching the Astros play.
I know,
dreaming of being out there on the
wild?
field, and now that comes to fruition. Yeah, there's a lot of emotions going through him.
Yep. It's like Nolan Ryan told Todd Van Poppel when Todd Van Poppel said, "Nolan, what should I do today?" And he just said, "Don't F it up, kid."
Unfortunately for Todd, that didn't happen.
Well, hey, for myself, from Mike, for everybody at Wheelhouse Media Company, thank y'all for tuning in to another great session, a great bullpen session, going back to the bullpen with us. Y'all have a good one. And until next time, go Stros.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool.